Welcome to the dark side of love. They say love is the purest feeling a human can experience. But what they never tell you is that love has a darker side. A side that hides behind smiles, kisses, and whispered promises. A side that can shatter you when the person you trusted the most becomes the one who destroys you. This is my story. A story I never thought I would have to tell. A story about the day I learned that the man I married was capable of breaking me in ways I never imagined. I met Daniel on a rainy afternoon in October. He wasn't just handsome, he was magnetic. The kind of man who could walk into a room and make everyone turn their head without even trying. We met in a small coffee shop, both reaching for the same blueberry muffin. I remember laughing when our hands touched. He smiled that perfect smile, the kind that melts away every guarded wall you've built around yourself. For the next 2 years, he became my safe place. He remembered my favorite songs, texted me good morning every single day, and made me feel like the world was finally right. Our wedding was everything I had dreamed of: white roses, candlelight, and his eyes locked on me like I was the only woman in the universe. But they say you don't really know someone until you live with them. And I wish I had listened. It started small. He began staying out late, saying work at the firm was crazy busy. His phone, which used to sit openly on the kitchen counter, now never left his pocket. When I'd ask him who he was texting, he'd smile and say, just a client. But there was a flicker in his eyes, one I didn't want to believe meant anything. I told myself it was just stress. That marriage was hard. That love wasn't always the fairy tale I had painted in my head, until the night I saw her name light up his screen. It was past midnight. Daniel was in the shower, steam fogging up the bathroom mirror, when his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I wasn't the kind of wife who snooped, at least. I wasn't before that night, but something in my chest tightened when I saw the name flash across the screen. Sophie. I froze. My breath caught somewhere between my lungs and my throat. I had never heard of a Sophie. The message was short, but it hit me harder than a punch. I miss you. Can't stop thinking about last night. My hands went cold. I stared at the words, trying to make sense of them, hoping last night meant something else, something innocent. But deep down, I already knew. The shower stopped. My heart started pounding louder than the dripping water. I had two choices: put the phone back, pretend I never saw it, or face him. When he came out, towel around his waist, I was sitting on the bed, phone in hand. Who's Sophie? I asked. My voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. For a moment, he froze. Then he smiled, shaking his head. You're being paranoid. She's just a friend from work. But friends don't send messages like that. That night was the first time I saw another side of Daniel. He didn't yell. He didn't apologize. He flipped it on me. Maybe you should see someone about your trust issues, he said, his voice dripping with fake concern. This isn't healthy for our marriage. Trust issues? I wanted to scream that he had created them, but I didn't, because love, real love, or what I thought was real, makes you doubt yourself before you doubt them. So I let it go. I told myself Sophie was harmless. I buried my suspicions so deep I could almost believe they weren't there. Almost. 2 weeks later, I found a receipt in his jacket pocket: dinner for two, at a restaurant we had once called our place. The date on the receipt? The same night he told me he was working late. My hands shook as I held it. I wanted to confront him right then, but he wasn't home. Instead, I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the clock, wondering what time my husband would come back to the home he was supposed to share with me and only me. When he finally walked in, smelling faintly of a perfume that wasn't mine, I asked him again, who is Sophie? Daniel? This time, his smile faded, his jaw tightened, and instead of answering, he walked past me, straight to the bedroom, and shut the door. The door stayed closed all night. I slept on the couch, the faint sound of the ceiling fan above me doing little to drown out the noise in my head. Every memory of us, every kiss, every laugh, every promise felt suddenly tainted. By morning, Daniel acted as if nothing had happened. He poured coffee. He kissed my forehead. I wanted to scream at him, demand the truth, but instead, I sat there, quietly drinking the bitter coffee that matched the taste in my mouth. Because here's the thing about betrayal: it doesn't always explode into your life. Sometimes it seeps in slowly, like poison, until you're too weak to fight it. 2 days later, I went to surprise Daniel at work. He had been distant, and I thought maybe, just maybe, showing up with his favorite lunch would remind him of us. But when I pulled into the parking lot, I saw him, He wasn't alone. Sophie was leaning against his car, her hair falling over her shoulders. Her smile easy and intimate, the kind of smile you give someone who belongs to you. I stayed in my car, frozen, watching as Daniel placed a hand on her cheek, brushed her hair back, and kissed her. It wasn't a friendly kiss. It was slow, familiar, the kind of kiss that said, "This isn't the first time." My fingers gripped the steering wheel so hard they hurt. I wanted to get out, to scream his name, to drag him away from her, but I couldn't move. I sat there until they drove away together, leaving me with a lunch bag on the passenger seat and a hole in my chest. That night, I waited for him to come home. When he finally walked through the door, I didn't ask. I told him, "I saw you, Daniel. I saw you with her." He didn't deny it. He didn't even look surprised. Instead, he sighed, as if I were the one making his life difficult. "It's not what you think," he said, but it was exactly what I thought. When I pressed him, he finally said the words that shattered whatever was left of me. "I'm not happy, okay? I haven't been for a long time. Sophie, she makes me feel alive again." Alive? And what was I? Just the dead weight of a life he no longer wanted? They say heartbreak feels like a punch to the chest, but mine did in single quotes. It felt like someone had reached inside me and quietly, carefully, turned off the light. "I make you feel dead inside?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Daniel didn't answer. He just looked away, his jaw tight, as if my pain was an inconvenience. "You stood in front of me, Daniel," I said, my voice shaking now. "You looked into my eyes on our wedding day and told me I was your forever. Did you mean any of it?" His answer came like a blade. "I meant it at the time." At the time. 2 words that turned my whole marriage into a temporary convenience. I didn't cry right away. My body was too shocked to respond. Instead, I just stared at him. "Is she in love with you?" I asked. He shrugged. "Probably." That shrug, casual, careless, broke something in me. It told me he didn't see me as a person anymore. I was a chapter he had already closed. Even though I was still standing right there in front of him, I felt my knees give way, and I sank to the floor. He didn't rush to comfort me. He didn't kneel beside me. He just stood there, arms crossed, like a man watching a storm he had no intention of sheltering from. I always told myself I'd never beg a man to stay, but that night, I broke my own rule. "Please, Daniel," I whispered, "if there's anything left, anything at all, don't throw it away like this." For the first time that night, he looked at me with something like pity, not love, not regret, pity. "I'm sorry," he said, "but I can't be who you need me to be anymore." And with that, he walked out. I sat on the cold floor for hours, staring at the front door, waiting for him to come back. He didn't. When someone leaves you, they don't just take their clothes and their toothbrush. They take the sound of their footsteps in the hallway. They take the coffee mug they always used. And somehow the mornings feel colder without it. They take the air out of the room, and you're left gasping for something that isn't there anymore. The house felt different without Daniel, quieter. But not in a peaceful way. It was the kind of quiet that makes you hear things you don't want to hear, your own thoughts, your own doubts, your own replay of every mistake you think you made. I stopped eating. I stopped answering calls. I stopped being me. A week later, I made the mistake of opening his laptop. Part of me thought maybe there would be an email, a message, something to prove I had overreacted. But instead, there were photos of him and Sophie. Not just one, dozens. Her sitting on his lap, their faces close, smiles wide and easy. A trip to the beach, one we had planned to take together, hotel rooms, candlelit dinners, and in every picture, he looked happier than I had seen him in months. That's the part no one warns you about, the day you realize the person you loved isn't just with someone else. They're happy without you. I spent nights awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what Sophie had that I didn't. Was she prettier? Funnier? Smarter? I started scrolling through her social media, memorizing her face, her clothes, her life. It was torture, self-inflicted, but I couldn't stop. One night, at I caught myself holding my phone so tight my hand hurt. I was looking at a picture of her in a red dress. The same dress I had worn on our anniversary last year. He had told me I looked beautiful that night. Now he was telling her, betrayal makes you do things you swore you'd never do. And that night, I did one of them. I called her. Her voice was soft, almost sweet. "Hello? This is Daniel's wife," I said. My own voice sounded foreign to me. There was a pause, then a little laugh. "You mean ex-wife," and in that moment, I realized she wasn't just a secret, she was a replacement. Her laugh still rang in my ears. I gripped the phone tighter. "What do you mean, ex-wife?" She didn't hesitate. "He told me you were divorced. Said you'd been separated for months. Said you were unstable." Unstable. That was the word. He used to erase me. Not wife, not partner, not the woman who had stood by him through every storm. Just unstable. I felt my throat tighten. "And you believed him?" Her tone sharpened. "Why wouldn't I?" He showed me the papers. Papers? I hadn't signed a single thing. She told me about their weekends away, the trips to see her family, how he had promised her a future, not just any future, a future, the house we'd been saving for, the trip to Italy we'd planned for our 5th anniversary. He had given all of it to her. In words, if not yet in reality. Then she said the thing that truly broke me: "I'm pregnant." The room tilted. I could hear her voice, but it felt far away, muffled, like I was underwater. Pregnant, with his child, while I was still wearing his ring. After I hung up, I didn't move for a long time. The walls around me felt too close, the air too thin. I wanted to scream, to smash every glass in the kitchen, to erase every photograph on the wall. Instead, I sat there in silence. The kind of silence that feels like a scream trapped inside you. It's strange the moment you realize your life has ended while you're still breathing. It doesn't happen with a bang. It happens in a single sentence you can never unhear. When Daniel came home the next day, I was waiting. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just looked at him and said, "She told me everything." For the first time, he didn't try to deny it. He just looked relieved, like the burden of keeping his lies straight had finally lifted. "Yes," he said, "it's true. She's pregnant, and I'm going to be with her." And just like that, I became a ghost in my own marriage. There's a moment after betrayal when you think you'll never get back up. You don't eat, you don't sleep, you just exist in the shell of who you used to be. And for a while, that was me. Days blurred together. The world outside my window moved on: people walking dogs, kids laughing, cars rushing to places that suddenly seemed meaningless. But inside my home, I was frozen. I'd stare at the spot on the couch where Daniel used to sit, at the dent his pillow had left on our bed. I hated him for what he'd done, but I hated myself more for still missing him. It happened one morning, almost without me noticing. I got out of bed, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't stand the smell of my own unwashed hair anymore. I showered. I put on clean clothes, and when I looked in the mirror, I saw someone I barely recognized. Not the woman he left, not the wife who begged. Someone else, someone who had nothing left to lose. I called a lawyer. I gathered every document, every bank statement, every receipt that proved his lies. And when we sat across from each other at the divorce mediation, I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I simply said, "You don't get to write the ending. I do." His eyes flickered, maybe with regret, maybe with surprise, but it didn't matter. This was my story now. It was raining, just like the day we met. He stood under an umbrella, holding papers for me to sign. For a moment, I almost saw the man I fell in love with, almost. But then I remembered Sophie, the lies, the child that wasn't mine. I signed my name, handed the papers back, and said the last words I will ever say to him: "Thank you for teaching me exactly what I will never accept again." I walked away without looking back. People think betrayal is the end of the story, but it's not. It's the end of their chapter in your life, and the beginning of yours. Love can lift you higher than the clouds, but when it turns, it can drag you into the deepest shadows. That's the dark side of love, and I've been there, but I found my way out.